There are people who don't shout their defeats. They just lean close to the glass at 3 a.m. and breathe two tiny words that fog the silver. I can't. You'll catch them in dim bathrooms, foreheads pressed to cold mirrors, shoulders folded like broken wings, whispering the same quiet verdict over and over until the reflection believes it too. They aren't lazy or fragile or faking. They just believe differently. The psychology behind people who whisper, I can't, to mirrors isn't about surrender. It's about survival. It's the silent treaty between fear and certainty, between trying again and staying safe. You see, for some, the mirror isn't glass. It's a courtroom. Every dawn they stand trial. Every blemish is evidence. Every scar a witness. Every tired eye a guilty plea. It's not that they don't fight. It's that they've memorized the losing script. They cradle I can't like a polished river stone, smooth from years of turning it in secret. They feel the ripple of every almost, the sting of every almost was. Their minds are etched with deep, fluorescent grooves that spell the same verdict. Not enough. And that kind of certainty comes with a toll, paralysis. Invisible weight isn't measured in kilos. Sometimes it's the second before the alarm, the breath before the text, the heartbeat before the word yes. Psychologists call it negative self-talk, learned helplessness, cognitive distortion. But what we miss is that whispering, I can't, isn't a rejection of hope. It's the fierce grip on predictability, no matter how painful. People who murmur defeat to mirrors aren't denying possibility. They're protecting the last intact piece of themselves. Their spirits thrive on honesty, even the brutal kind. When they mouth I can't, it's not weakness, it's witness. They need the phrase not because they love limits, but because limitless once left them shattered. There's also something ancient wired into why the whisper sticks. Every I can't lights an old circuit, the one that kept cavemen alive by remembering the cliff, the fong, the storm. In today's flood of filtered lives, the brain still scans. Did this hurt before? Will it again? For the mirror whispers, vigilance never clocks out. The mind replays, dissects, reinforces. No wonder stepping forward feels like betrayal. But here's the paradox. Many who whisper I can't to mirrors birth the quietest revolutions. They want to rise, but not on amnesia. They want wings, but rooted in the mud they crawled through. They want yes, but not blind to every no that carved them. This is the tender burden of the self-doubters, the friction between freeze and flight. Because it's not the future they fear. It's forgetting why caution once saved them. If you've ever locked eyes with yourself and felt the sentence rise unbidden, I can't, you've tasted this paradox. You watch others leap, unshackled, and a small voice hisses, maybe tomorrow. But deep down you know letting go would leave you weightless, unmoored, smiling over graves. That's not freedom. That's forgetting. Researchers in cognitive psychology call it high emotional consolidation. These souls encode failure deeper, replay it louder, archive it forever. Daily life amplifies, a missed call, a sideways glance, a song that smells like goodbye. It's not drama, it's neural tattooing. To function, they whisper the warning. Whispering then isn't always wound. Sometimes it's wisdom. It's the soul declaring, this broke me once. I won't pretend it didn't. But society rarely honors that. We worship the leap, the glow-up, the overnight phoenix. We label lingering as lazy, depth as defect, reflection as refusal. People who whisper, I can't often hear. Just try. Stop defining yourself by fear. But what if the whisper is the definition? What if their caution is the forge of empathy? There's a deeper thread, the bond between identity and scar tissue. Many whisperers grew up in houses where enough was a moving target, love withheld, praise rationed, effort mocked. Gradually, the psyche fused self with shortfall. Being whole feels like betrayal of the child who hid. The unconscious remembers collapse like muscle memory. So when chance knocks, the spirit doesn't just hear opportunity. It hears replay. Yet, the most luminous part of these people is their latent dawn. When they choose to rewrite the whisper, it's seismic. They see subtleties others sprint past. Their empathy runs marrow deep, but so does their guard. It's as if they carry a lantern forged in falls, brighter for the crash, heavier too. Every motion demands renegotiation, and they renegotiate with surgical grace. This doesn't doom them to eternal hush. Many who whisper, I can't, bloom in deliberate doses, therapy rooms, midnight journals, tiny dares. They excel where depth trumps speed, mentoring, creating, healing, because they invest with informed tremor. They may not vault every wall, but when they scale, it's permanent. Still, we must name the loneliness that pools with every whisper. Bearing certainty preserves identity, but it can barricade belonging. Even the most armored hearts crave echo chambers that understand caution as care. The quest is finding spaces that honor the whisper without halting the walk. For some, that means micro-rituals. 3 breaths before the mirror, 1 gentle maybe after every cant. A friend who listens without fixing. It's not about silencing the whisper. It's about adding harmony. Lately, therapists call this limbic anchoring. The psychic toll of etched defeat. You feel it in the slump before the selfie, the flinch before the compliment. For profound feelers, the anchor sets fast. It's not collapse. It's calibration. A laugh feels borrowed. A plan feels fragile. And suddenly you just need quiet, not from despair, but to retune the tether. Those who whisper, I can't, invent clever counterspells. They ritualize mornings, sticky notes that say yet. Evening pages that bleed the day dry. Walks where footsteps drown the echo. These aren't fixes, they're stewardship. Methods of modulating the mantra. And here's a velvet truth. The whisper isn't always villain. At times, it's vigilance. Discernment of danger. Reverence for rupture. Fidelity to formation. That's psychological mastery. The problem isn't the phrase, it's the shame for saying it. We're taught boldness equals bravery. But what if measured steps are the real triumph? Balance endures. Total silence, cozy at first, calcifies into cage. The psyche needs resonance. Souls who echo epics without erasure. Growth happens in mirrored murmurs, even soft ones. Thus, the true quest for whispers isn't to mute the mantra. It's to migrate with it. Start small. A shared secret. A sketch of the scar. A circle that celebrates caution. Progress isn't purge. It's partnership. A hand offered. A history honored. A hush hallowed. What whisperers truly seek is an erasure. It's evolution. They aren't chained by can't. They're chaperoned by it. Seeking arenas safe enough to sprint. And sometimes they just need recognition. To not read their restraint as rejection. To grasp that when they pause, it's not the now I doubt. It's diligence. They're not negating nerve. They're nurturing it. It's a quiet sovereignty. The kind unsung, yet sacred. For it dares defy the decree of denial. To venerate your visceral volume in an era obsessed with edit. The psychology of those who whisper, I can't, to mirrors isn't a tale of captivity. It's a tale of custodial courage. Every echo has essence, and they've mastered metering it where it mends most. Sometimes the sharpest ache isn't the phrase. It's enduring the echo, the regret that ricochets, the muted wonder if they've muted magic. They replay the restraint, rationalizing. I just needed the warning. I was wise. Perhaps tomorrow I'll try. But inside, they know it's rhythm, not rupture. Memory mounts, mindfulness mediates. What multitudes miss is that caution kindles not in conquest. It kindles in chronicle. Perhaps it began when a child learned almost was safer than all in. Perhaps they were the watcher in a house of gamblers, the whisper in a choir of roarers. They learned digesting defeat was durable over daring. Gradually, that guard grew guardian. They didn't stop growing. They just grew guarded. Cognitively, this births what scholars term defensive pessimism. The habit of tethering tomorrow to testament, to temper terror. It's not aversion to assent. It's armor and ancestry. But here's the luminous truth. Whisperers often harbor prodigious inner galaxies. Their persistence propagates prudence, perception, perseverance unmatched in reckless tempo. They are the guardians, the gentle giants, the quiet cartographers mapping mercy in a merciless rush. Their ballast isn't barren. It's bedrock where bravery brews. But linger too long, and locust becomes lock. Cognition calls it the restraint reel. Each rehearsal eases momentarily, yet braids the bond between bygone and break. Snapping the reel demands not cruel cut. It's restoring its song. Rather than reading restraint as restraint, morph it into mentor in measured motion. Micro milestones to mobilize sans mutilation. One of the most misread gifts of mirror whispers is their hypervigilant acuity. They register the micro-tremor before the tear, the throat catch before the choke. That acuity, unchanneled, recoils into retreat. Cultivated, it converts to compassionate command. The key isn't to kill the caution. It's to conduct it. Breath work, body scans, talismans that whisper back, I'm here. Because much of the can't isn't the task. It's the terror of tumbling untended. And yet, the paradox endures. Many who whisper, I can't, are the most magnanimous mirrors you'll meet. They mourn mightily. They memorialize missteps. They minister softly. They manifest mercy in motions missed unseen. They simply grapple with the gravity of growth, the part that mandates magnification. For them, legacy isn't loud. It's the lingering lesson unearthed at leisure. The lingering look, the way they metabolize minus monopolizing. There's an evolutionary angle too. Not all were built for blind bound. In primal bands, prudence was premium. Some sprinted, some scanned. The scanners who stored sagas often saved the tribe. Their restraint was resilience. Today, that tenacity translates. Intuiting an ally's ancient ache. Pausing the pitch to protect the heart. When every era erupts at once, the mind moors to mantra as mainstay. The now era exhausts that. It exalts the effortless. If you're not vaulting, viral, or victorious, you're vanished. But truly, whispering, I can't isn't waning. It's warding against whimsical wipe. It's the essence's edict. I refuse relinquishing my renderings merely to seem resilient. Still, safeguarding and soaring must sink. Excessive safeguard stagnates, undue restraint rusts. The aim isn't to annihilate the anchor. It's to attach sails. In therapy, a practice called graduated grit gains ground. Incremental, ingestible inches toward the intimidating. Not to annihilate adherence, but to amplify agency. For a whisper, that might mean murmuring one maybe, then moving mercy-free. It might mean mapping the mantra on paper before proclaiming it. The point isn't prohibition. It's persuading the psyche that progress doesn't portend peril. Gradually, the form forges fresh fable. I can carry caution and still cascade. But let's lean closer. Why does mere motion sometimes magnify the murmur? Because daily dynamics delineate us. Every exchange exposes the earnest ego. When kin kindle carefree, we feel fractured. When circles commune in current, we feel cadence forsaken. That dissonance evokes the intrinsic interval, the gap between the self we shelter and the self we show. The more monolithic the mantra, the more monumental the gap, in milieux molded on momentary mirth. Thus the whisper in myriad modes is renunciation of rupture. It's avowing, I shan't shatter solely to shimmer. That's not defect. That's devotion. But devotion can desolate when the world mistakes measure for malaise. Those who whisper, I can't, aren't eternally eclipsed. They're elsewhere, equilibrating their echo, pondering particulars none necessitated. They're recirculating restraint, refining resonance, querying if they quartered quests or quartered quietly. They inhabit the afterimage of attempt. Long past the pulse, their musings mull, sifting, sanctifying, scrutinizing. That's the tariff of tenderness. Yet therein lies radiance. Because when they deign to dilute the dictum, it's divine. Their disclosures dawn like daylight. Their discernment dazzles the devout. You needn't nudge their nerve. When they're with you, they're holy. They don't dart distractions. They delve durations. They're not pursuing praise. They're pursuing profundity. For myriad, mending mounts with reconsecrating the caution, not as captor, but as crucible. You can cherish Kant, and yet crave the cosmos. You can clasp the caution without cloistering. Concord isn't conjured in ceaseless charge. It's conjured in cognizing when to clutch and when to cast. When you commence contemplating your continuum sans censure, caution becomes compass. You initiate to select, not from fright, but from fidelity. The cosmos craves not universal urgency. It craves custodians. It craves those who weigh the whisper of why not ere any utters it. It craves those who utter less yet uphold more. Whispering I can't, when wisdom matures into weighted wonder, the proficiency to persist profoundly, not prolifically, because profundity, not precipitancy, precipitate's veritable vital bond. And perhaps that's the veiled verity veiling this voyage. Those who whisper, I can't, to mirrors aren't repudiating the realm. They're yearning for a rendition resonant with restraint. A realm where they needn't negate their narrative into negligible nuggets merely to Nestle. A realm where reflection isn't redundant. Where resonance supplants rushed rhetoric. Where whisper is welcome to waft. Until they unearth that realm, they erect it in their endurance. And at times that's the most meticulous mode of momentum. Because one dawn when they deign to dilute the dictum and dance, they'll do it distinctly. They'll no longer labor to lighten the load. They'll simply surge seasoned, sensitive, sublime. And those who witness will intuit it. That persistence, unbeseeching prominence. That poise, unpropitiating acclaim. That's the potency of those who erstwhile whispered. They emerge enriched. And perhaps that's the precept for us all. Vitality doesn't dawn in the dash. It dawns in the delve. In discerning yourself densely enough to dawn as one durable. When you comprehend your own caution, you finally harbor heft worth hauling. When you hallow your own haul, you finally forge foray to enfold others. Those who whisper, I can't, to mirrors aren't fractured. They're forging the sort of solidity that renders veritable voyage viable. And when they finally voice I can, it's not vanity, it's veracity.